The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored this week by Motor Bunny, the Ride on Top vibrator. Get $50 off a Motor Bunny starter kit at motorbunny.com by entering the code MANWHORE at checkout. The Man Whore Podcast is sponsored by the Pure Hookup app. Pure Hookup lets awesome people have casual sex tonight. Download the Pure Hookup app on Google Play or the App Store. Pure, the hookup app that says it's a hookup app. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Man Whore Podcast.
Shout out to all those hashtag warriors, Wonder Women, and Demi Dames. This is Billy Procida, and you are listening to the Man Whore Podcast. All right, hello, how y'all doing? Welcome to my show if you're new, and hey, welcome back if you're not. I am your host, comedian Billy Procida. If you have not listened to my show before, this is a podcast where I talk to women I've hooked up with about sex, dating, and why we didn't work out. However, this week's guest, not one of my former hookups. No. I've gone on a super funny comedian, Mindy who's going to talk about all sorts of things non-monogamous in a little bit. But first, show dates, people. Show dates. Okay, just a couple things. Mentor, Ohio, November 8th. I'm going to be at Toth's Place. I believe it's an 8 p.m. show. I'd love to see some people come on out to that. And then tomorrow, yes, if you're listening to this today, it's out tomorrow. October 26th is the Fan Whore Facebook Live Hangout. Yes, our monthly hangout on Facebook Live where we chit-chat, I answer your questions, you tell me a little bit about yourselves, and we're going to be joined by my intern, Izzy. So if you want to get to know her and know what it's like to, I guess, work for or work with me, she had a huge hand in putting together Man Whore Con. Come hang out. Come show up. That's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Facebook fan page. And if you missed the hangout, don't worry. The video is going to be up and available all next month for you to watch and to check out. And you can still ask questions in the comment thread. I will show up to answer them. And if you want to stay up to date with all the latest Man Whore Podcast news, I got to implore you to sign up for the mailing list. Head on over to manwhorepod.com. On the right-hand side, you will see a little box. Just put your email address, a name if you want to. Please leave your zip code because I want to know where y'all are at. Here, and one last piece of business is, I know a lot of y'all couldn't make Man Whore Con. It's okay. There's going to be another one. But everyone at Man Whore Con did receive a awesome slutty swag bag full of all sorts of awesome goodies, both from myself and from my sponsors, while I have a couple of complete swag bags left over. If you want a slutty swag bag, all you got to do is pay for shipping and handling. I'm giving it to you really at no profit of my own. What are in these bags? Well, they come in a blue drawstring Man Whore Podcast bag customized just for Man Whore Con 2017. They also got Man Whore Podcast cups. We got all sorts of stickers and buttons and tchotchkes from my sponsors at the Nookie Box, from the movie sex.com. There's a t-shirt in there. A t-shirt alone is usually $15, $20. That's just in the bag. No big deal. And then the Nookie Box hooked everyone up with like a huge cock ring, these slip guards that help your condoms not fall off in the middle of sex. We've got weed lube. I'm serious. I didn't even know it was weed lube. Izzy realized it. I just thought they say natural massage gel. I'm like, okay, whatever. Then while we're packing up the bags, Izzy's like, dude, there's weed in these. And yeah, there is. There's like a little bit of cannabis in there for your high sex pleasures. There's a bunch of condoms, a bunch of lubes, there's a bunch of fun goodies in these swag bags. So it can be yours for just $25. That covers the shipping and a little bit of time of me going to the post office. If you're interested, I only have 2 bags available that are complete bags. Shoot me an email at manwhorepod@gmail.com. The bag can be yours. And next year, you can just come to Man Whore Con and get one for yourself. Okay, everyone. I got some things I got to talk about real quick. Here's just one quick public service announcement. Here's something y'all should learn from my poor mistakes. If you have a person in your life you like to send all sorts of naughty nudes to, I highly recommend confirming with them, especially if they are like a newer partner. Confirm that they do not have an Apple Watch that is synced to their phone. Because last night I was like feeling randy, feeling kind of horny, and I was like, I'm going to have like an awesome self-love jerk-off session. Wonderful, right? And in the middle, I'm like, ooh, you know what I could really use? I could really use a butt plug right now. That might feel nice. I was feeling a little squirrely. I don't do prostate play most of the time that I jerk off, but when I do, it's because I'm wiggling in my seat because something needs to be up there. Fabulous. And so I do it, and I thought I would send a picture to someone who has previously appreciated those pictures. It's a person who we used to normally send those pictures through like Twitter DMs, and we have since exchanged phone numbers. So I thought mistakenly it was appropriate to just send what I would send in the Twitter DMs to her in the text message. No big deal, right? Was a big deal. Because she was at a game night with her friends and partners, and she wears an Apple Watch, which I did not know about. And in the middle of the game night, flashed up completely full screen on her Apple Watch, there's a picture of a jeweled butt plug sticking out of my ass. Oops. That can really throw off a game of Settlers of Catan. It's not a thing everybody wants to see. So I profusely apologized when she let me know of my error, and it won't happen again. She just was like, dude, warn a girl first. Future reference, everyone. If you're in sexy picture sharing with someone new, when you switch over to text, ask if they have an Apple Watch. Ask if it's going to show up on their Apple TV or some shit. Because that can make for a weird game night. Okay. Everyone, I saw this this week's episode with Mindy Raff is wonderful, and we talk a lot about polyamory. We talk a lot about non-monogamy, and in light of that, I happen to also, unrelated to recording with Mindy, I went to go see a movie with a couple poly people in New York City. They're part of the Open Love New York Facebook group, and someone was like, "Hey, I'm putting together a group to go see Professor Marston and the Wonder Women." So I went to go see that. And just, wow. Polyamorous or not, non-monogamous or not, kinky or not, you should all go see this movie. Professor Marston and the Wonder Women. It's a movie out right now. It is about the man who created Wonder Woman. This is not a superhero movie. You do not need to be into superhero movies to be into this movie. You could hate superhero movies and love this movie. The movie has very little to do with Wonder Woman. And I roll my eyes when I say this, but I truly, as someone who's known for a long time that he was different, and as someone who is getting more comfortable using the word polyamorous for myself, And they never say the word poly in the movie. I got to say that. It's not a preachy movie. That's what I love about the movie. It's just a beautiful love story. It's not preachy. It's not like a poly movie. It's very subversive. Because it's just a love story. But it's a love story that happens to be three people. Not a love triangle. But a love story of three people together. I watched it, of course, going, yeah, of course, he loves her. And he loves his wife. And this woman, loves this couple. And, why is that weird? But I understand that we do not live in a culture, we do not live in a society that yet widely accepts this to be a fact. We live in a country that still has a lot of people that go well, I could never do that. Right? Whether it's kink, whether it's queerness, whether it's non-monogamy, you have a lot of people going, they just make it about themselves, and no one fucking asked you. No one's asking you to do it. I mean, unless someone did. But it's in general, when we say I am this, that's not saying you have to too. It's just saying I do this. You do your thing. No big deal, everybody. So this movie, I felt really seen. I hate that phrase because I think it's so fucking millennial. But I finally saw a positive representation of that on screen. You don't see that. You see sister wives, you see poly that fails, you see the non-monogamous or slutty person that ends up monogamous. You don't see this often, and it's a beautiful story. You will cry at the end of it. So please go see it yourself. Bring friends, bring vanilla friends, bring non-monogamous friends, bring monogamous friends, bring anyone. Anyone who says to me, I just don't understand how you could be polyamorous. I just don't get it. I say, please go see Professor Marston and the Wonder Women. Because when you realize that 2 or 3 or 4 or 12 people's love story is just a love story, you'll maybe understand. And if you still don't get it, then, you don't have to get it. You just have to shrug and move on. Because it doesn't fucking affect you. So, please go see it. Please tell your friends to go see it. Both Professor Marston and the Wonder Women, or, last week we talked about the documentary Monogamous. Just these movies are out there, and it's really cool to see this type of positive representation in the media. But now for some emails, people. Emails, your words, because fuck me, right? These are actually not emails. These are Facebook messages I got, but same thing. Look, I do not only have to read positive, thank you so much, Billy, I love the podcast type emails. We don't need to keep doing that. I am happy to also share the criticism that I receive in my inboxes. So I've got a couple of messages for y'all that I have gotten. This first one is in regards to an episode from last month. It was titled, Betsy DeVos is a Twat. In the intro, I discussed, it happened to come out the same week that Betsy DeVos made her big Title IX speech. And I discussed Betsy DeVos, Title IX, rape culture, sex education. And I shared a point of view that is not shared by many people. But at the end of the day, I was saying that I think comprehensive sex education will help curb sexual assaults in this country. So I post and she's, from what I can tell, some sort of recent college grad, highly educated, good university. And this is what she had to say to me. Her name is Charlotte. Charlotte writes, Hi, Billy. I am a Hyde alum, and I saw your podcast on the Hyde Memories group. While I don't listen to all of your podcasts, I did listen to some of your podcasts where you share your thoughts about Betsy DeVos and Title IX. And I have to say, I'm having trouble putting to words my feelings about what you had to say. I think your opinion is misguided, hypocritical, dare I say, wrong. And I thought the way you went about presenting it was horrible and disheartening. Your disclaimer about how DeVos is a, quote, twat, then using your self-proclaimed authority as a sex-positive educator / activist as a defense before you continue on to agree with DeVos's stance and spout the same myths that perpetuate the rape culture you purport to aim to dismantle. She doesn't complete the sentence there. She just leaves the clause unconcluded. You are such a phony. If you'd actually like to be an ally to survivors, I suggest you maybe check out some resources and get the facts about Title IX and rape on campus. Here are just a few places to start. She links me to endrapeoncampus.org and knowyour9.org. That's know your 9, the IX, the Roman numeral. There'll be links in the show notes. Anyways, she continues, probably the most important thing you can do for victims of sexual violence, especially those you care about, is to believe them. I could go on and on about the statistics, which you can find on those websites and probably Tumblr, but I'll cut to the chase. Now, I should probably read this the way she intended it to be read. How dare I, as a man, correct her language or grammar, so I shall read the rest of this the way she wrote it. The way you criticize victims for how they choose to respond to an assault, comma, is completely offensive. How dare you? Period. Your experience does not give you a right to criticize. You reduce rape on campus to a series of blunders by awkward weirdos. Yes, education is the key to stopping rape on campus, but not for the reason you think. Make no mistake, rape is not an accident. And the actual experience of being raped and living through and with that cannot be faked or conjured up by a person in response to something that didn't actually happen. That's not how trauma works. You give disclaimer after disclaimer before each incorrect and harmful, rape culture perpetuating statement. You are belittling to survivors and activists. You are definitely not an ally. Seriously, dude, you are just another one of the reasons why nobody takes rape seriously or respects victims. Gosh, Charlotte, I am so flattered that you think I have the type of reach that I'm one of the reasons nobody takes rape seriously or respects victims. That's so sad if it's true, but the fact that you think that my show is successful enough to, be doing that is a thank you oh so much. Okay. Charlotte, you're welcome to your opinion. But here's the thing. Just make sure you quote me accurately. I never call myself an activist or an educator. Let's be very clear on this. My fans and anyone just tuning in for the first time, I want to be very clear. I am just a comedian with a fuck cast. Hold me to no higher standard than that. I really prefer to keep the bar nice and low so I can just trip over it, which always makes me laugh because when people go like, Billy, you're a fake feminist. I'll be like, I never called myself a feminist, so that you even had to call me a fake one means I must be doing something right enough that you think I could be faking it. But I told her, hey, you and I may disagree on some of the finer points, but I hope we both agree. Betsy DeVos is a twat. To which she responded, ugh, vomit. Least funny podcast ever. Well, both you and Esquire.com thinks that. So, thanks for writing in, Charlotte from Hyde. I am not trying to say that Charlotte's point is wrong. I'm just saying we disagree. I mostly condescend to her because I hate it when people call me an educator or activist. And I'm like, neither of those things. Okay. This next one, way more confusing and is critical from, I guess, the other side, which makes it so bizarre. This came through the Facebook fan page message inbox from Ashley W., a former member of the Patreon community, I guess until this went down. So context. My intern found a funny meme. It's like the awkward penguin meme, and it says, want to be polyamorous, flirty, and sex positive. And then on the bottom it says, heterosexual, cisgendered male and worried about coming off as patriarchal and unsafe. Okay, fair. I thought it was cute. I paired it with a caption. I wrote a caption saying, luckily this is as bad as it gets being a straight white guy. Because I'll be honest with you, as a straight white guy, that's kind of almost as bad as it gets when it comes to social justice topics. So Ashley wrote to me that what you wrote in that meme is so insulting. This is a white lady, of course. I said, haha, to whom? She says, my dad, stepdad, boyfriend, brother-in-law. I just responded. As a straight white guy, I totally cleared it with myself. You ever go oh, no, I can say that joke about black people because I have a black friend. I checked with them. No, I cleared the joke with me as a straight white guy. The joke about straight white guys, I cleared. It's all good. Thank you for being the she-woman superhero defender of straight white guys. We need that in the world as such a marginalized group. Thank you for standing up for us. But it's okay. It's so her responses are so bizarre. She continues, you have even said, guys, if you're going to criticize a person, try to use some semblance of grammar. It will be easier to take you seriously. She says, you have even said it's not easy being you. Same for them, but it's different because they're Republican. They don't matter is what you're saying. Ooh, she brought up politics. I think I know what this is really about. Is this a Trumpy person who feels ostracized by society for being Trumpy? That's what you get for supporting a moron, hateful person. Cool. I said, I didn't say they're Republicans so they don't matter. It's just a funny meme. And I added a caption I thought was funny. Because, I'm a comedian. That's kind of what I do. Emphasis on the kinda. As Charlotte said, I'm not very funny. But also, I actually didn't even say the word Republican in that post. Ashley writes, nowadays you don't have to specify. People just assume what you say. Well, number one, shouldn't assume. Number two, I'm a comedian. Hi, I do jokes. It's not in just jokes. ... When you believe something, stand for it. Okay, well then here, I'll take a stand right now. I'm not sure what the fuck you're talking about. It's a funny meme my intern found. I gave it a caption. I thought it was funny. Chill out. I think you're reading too much into it, Ashley. But if you don't like it, you can ignore it or use the angry reaction button or tell me to fuck myself and unfollow me. I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish. Because, I am a straight white guy. I'm not offended by it. And if your brother-in-law, dad, stepdad, or boyfriend are offended, they should bring it up with me. It just seems odd for you to tell me it's offensive on their behalf. Kind of like telling a black comedian his joke about black people is offensive to black people that you know. It's so bizarre. So I'm like, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish. She says, I'm mad. I used to follow you. All right, cool. Well, then how about this? Let's start over. You. Let me be, we'll role play it. I'll be you. Billy, I don't like the meme you posted. I find it insulting on behalf of straight white men. Now I'm going to be me. Cool. Thanks for writing in. It's a funny meme my intern found, and I tried to write a funny caption I thought would pair it well with it. What would you like me to say? So when I ask her, what would you like me to say? She says, I guess I don't know. Your life is different than here. Here is Minnesota. She lives out in Minnesota, which is odd because it's not necessarily a super Republican state, but she says, your life is different than here. That's why there's such a difference. And that's the thing that frustrates me. Because look, well, before you come at me telling me what I can or cannot joke about, you may want to figure out exactly what you're mad about and communicate it clearly. Use a few less ellipses, a little bit of fucking sentence structure. Then we can have an effective dialogue. So let those be two examples where I can't win on either side of the aisle. So I'm going to just chill in this nice little sliver of the middle that still remains in our media landscape, in our political atmosphere. And whoever else can fit in this rational, reasonable sliver in the middle, you're welcome to join me. I brought potato chips. Let's go on. Let's move forward. Let's talk about this week's guest, Mindy Raff. I'll be honest with y'all. I didn't know anything about Mindy before she came on the show. She did a one-woman show that she was touring, that she brought to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. She performed it actually at the Hacienda House here. She performed it for a bunch of my fellow slutty, kinky, poly weirdos. And so I've heard a lot about her. I've seen her name on Facebook all the time. Effie Blue, who a friend of the pod, so to speak. She highly recommended her, says she's super funny, said she's got great things to talk about. I didn't understand the title of her show, Keeping My Kidneys. So I was like, I don't get it. Is this a kidney thing? Is this a trend? Does she fall in love with multiple people? And because she had 5 partners, we were able to test all their blood types. So luckily one of them was positive. But the twist ending is they were all a match. So they all could have donated a kidney. I don't get it. But I'm happy to talk with her. And she was such a fucking delight. This was I love it when I don't know much about a guest. I do feel some anxiety because I'm I don't know how this is going to go. And I love it when it just works out. I love it when I show up and we just have a fantastic conversation. Such great chemistry. We talked about polyamory, non-monogamy, queerness. Really cool stuff. I think you're all going to enjoy her. We mentioned some things. There's references to people and web series and apps. There's a nice little list of links in the show notes. So if you want to check any of that stuff out, or if you want to check out the websites that Charlotte yelled at me in the Facebook message, all those will be listed in the show notes if you want to check them out. But now I hope you all enjoy my fabulous conversation, my lovely consensual encounter with Mindy Raff. Microphones all the time. You know what you're doing.
What if I just change my voice and talk like this for the rest of the podcast? And I'm like, no, yeah, I'll keep it close to here. When I listen to podcasts, I think I listen to the things that I don't like to do vocally with other people. Uh-huh. So I'm like, vocal fry, popping your P's, the mic's too close. So I'm always like, all right, it's fine. Just relax.
What other podcasts do you listen to? You said poly podcasts?
Not necessarily poly podcasts, but just in general, I think when you're starting to learn about something new, back then I was like, oh, reading books, listening to podcasts, so I listen to comedy podcasts, relationship podcasts, But yeah, that's like a good way to learn for me is audio. So I'll start to read a book and then I'll be like, maybe I can find a podcast about this.
Yeah.
Before I finish this book to like summarize it in an audio form so I can get it into my bloodstream and then read after that. Because I tend to realize, audio is a great way for me to learn. So.
Yeah. Or at least like the average American, can I find a tweet? Can I find 140 characters? I don't have to read the article. Just give me a headline that I can regurgitate to my friends, and I'm good. I know all about it now.
Like water cooler learning.
Yeah, water cooler learning. Yeah.
Yes. No. I could do like an hour podcast, I think. The tweets, no thank you. Maybe I'll do a couple tweets about it after. I can't get into the tweets. I try.
You try?
I try. Once a day, I'm like, you're going to do it today. You're going to write a good tweet. And then I'm like, fuck this. I hate this.
I need more letters. What's your like social media? Like, are you a Pinterest gal?
I mean, don't talk to me about Pinterest. I actually, it's so funny. I've just started dating recently, or like thought about having more bandwidth in my time, in my schedule to date. And a big joke was that I really like to have like a Pinterest page with someone before we get intimate. Like, I just want to know, like, what visually are you into? And like, do you craft and all of that jazz?
What's your favorite recipe? Show me.
Yeah.
Like, if we were having a wedding, what would be the dress that you would pick?
Exactly.
Yes.
Do you want to give our guests succulents or chalkboard?
What the fuck is a succulent?
It's a tiny little cacti.
Cacti?
Yeah, I'll send you my Pinterest boards.
I assume you have a Pinterest for your wedding going on?
Actually, not for my wedding.
No?
No.
Okay.
I think when you do comedy stuff or produce shows so much, the last thing you want to do is produce something that's not a show.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, screw this. Like, I already do production. Like, let's just keep it real chill.
Uh-huh.
So no, I've never really wanted that kind of a wedding, but I like the visuals for other people.
Is your partner planning the wedding instead? No? Oh, nobody.
We're like slow grinding.
Slow grinding.
Yeah.
Slow grind. Okay.
Slow grind, private. Well, we're going to do some small celebration at some point. My family's like, when? And I'm like, you'll find out.
Well, is there a comedy show and who books it? No. It's,
Yeah. Let me, if this is going to be a comedy show, I'm like, all right, we're all going to go to Mexico. We're going to do this comedy show.
Luisa Diaz is going to book it because she books everything.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. But since it's not a show, I'm like, oh, I have to like schedule things.
Yeah.
No. But maybe there'll be succulents.
Maybe succulents.
Especially if we do it somewhere like San Miguel or something like that, then there'll be succulents everywhere. So it'll be good.
Well, I want to welcome Mindy Raff onto the podcast. Hello.
I like that we started out with wedding stuff already.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's record for 30 minutes and then be like, hey, are we recording? Yeah, give me that every day.
That's the typical podcast, right? Like, oh my God, are we recording?
I love Pete Holmes. Yeah, let's do it.
I love Pete Holmes' podcast. Hey, Pete, are you listening? We're fans.
Well, you are a fellow comedian, and it seems like a performing Jill of all trades, I'd say, right? No?
Human of all trades.
Human of all trades?
Yes.
Okay.
But I appreciate the gender attempt. No, yeah, person of all trades.
Sure. Well, you were highly recommended by Effie and I think also Kenneth Play because you did this one-woman show, Keeping My Kidneys, right? And they said like, oh, she's super poly. I was like, yeah, but what does the kidneys have anything to do with that? I'm confused. What was this?
I can now say because the title has changed, literally just changed as of this week. It's a one-woman show with a combination of stand-up storytelling and theater. It talks about my obviously non-monogamous relationship structure with my fiance and me coming out about it and about how I identify to my dead mother. But it's funny.
Okay.
So that's the show.
Dead mothers are always hilarious.
Like huge LOL.
Oh, yeah.
ROFL, like total dead mother.
Especially if it's a roast battle. Come on. It's
Oh gosh, roast battles. No, I like to watch them, but I'm not an insult. I'm way too people pleasing. I would be like, well, your hair looks amazing.
Oh, yo, she said you got good hair.
People pleaser to the right. Yeah, I would just, roast battles make me anxious, but I really appreciate the skill that it takes to craft a good mean joke.
Yeah.
Just not for me. No, my show's not roasty at all. I don't even roast my poor dead mother.
Oh, no.
We get vulnerable. But Keeping My Kidneys, it's a metaphor for something my mother taught me about sex and relationships. So the whole show juxtaposes what I was taught about sex, relationships, and identity from my mother and my current structure, and then follows kind of a narrative of me coming out to myself and to the audience. And then other things happen, but it's more of a plot thing. You'll have to see it. But
there is no like kidney transfer operation.
No, well, it's about. So I watched Dirty Dancing with my mom when I was younger, and I asked her why Penny needed her surgery, which was she had an abortion. And my mom told me that she had premarital sex and she was this dancer and blah, blah, blah. And so unfortunately, she had to get her kidneys out. And that is kind of the metaphor for the show, is just how my mom explained.
So keeping my kidneys means like keep your virginity or keep your like virtue or something?
Keeping my kidneys it means a lot of different things in the show. It kind of comes back as a metaphor,
Okay.
but it stands for kind of the things that we're taught or the way that like we're communicated to, specifically as women identified, about sex and relationships, like indirectly, and how we process that and how it affects how we move through the actions we choose and how we move through life and relationships. So it's more of a metaphor for that. And I kind of come back to that story throughout the show and in the end of the show as well. And the title's changing because it's so abstract. Hence the meta. I wrote it as a book proposal originally, so the title was more for a book title.
Sure, yeah.
Which I think works for a book title, but when you're at like a festival, maybe like
You get a lot of like patients show up from the hospital.
I got a lot of kidney people who gone through kidney transplants, whose friends had gone through kidney transplants, thought it was about alcoholism, thought it was about kidney cancer.
How many people walked out with their saline being like, I'm out of here? This is not.
I had no literal medical people dealing with kidney issues, but I did have a lot of messages from people, my friends going through this kidney thing, yada, yada, yada. And I felt kind of bad because a festival show title is it's really simple when you're someplace like Edinburgh with like 4,000 shows. The title, I realize, has to be very literal and specific. It's like Mindy's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad, non-monogamy. Like it has to be so specific. So I realized if I'm going to keep touring with it, which I am, and doing it for places that don't know me necessarily, like UK or wherever, that's not my New York audience, I need to have a title that portrays the show a little more literally and simply. So I'm changing the title from that. I do love the title, but like you said, it's like, what does that mean? Yeah.
Like, well, so wait, how long have you identified as ethically non-monogamous of some sort?
I've been ethically non-monogamous or open or poly with my partner since we started dating almost 5.5 years now. So yeah, the show's been going on for a year this November.
Yeah.
And that's probably when I just started talking about it with comedy and talking about our relationship necessarily. So I would say, yeah, the show's been around for about a year. I've been like smattering it into my stand-up, but I've found with like a 7 or 10 minute set, I've had some trouble like throwing poly and bi in and being engaged because I can't talk about dating without mentioning
The
poly,
yeah.
And then I can't talk about being poly without mentioning I'm engaged, or because people are like, wait, you said you were engaged and now you're trying to talk about dating. And I had struggled with how to just throw it in there. And I've seen other comics do it. I've seen like comics like Mike Kaplan just kind of throw in really nonchalantly, but
that works for him because he's all one-liners, so he can just do that and then jump to like math jokes.
Yeah, and he does that so well. He like just sequences through, and my style is like narrative.
Yeah.
So I realized I needed to build a narrative around it to get comfortable with it, and that's kind of how the show came about.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
and did you know you were like poly or non-monogamous before this relationship, or?
No, I didn't really identify as that at all and know anything about it. I knew that it existed, and even now I would say that I'm probably like stealing from Dan Savage, like monogamish or poly adjacent. Yeah. As in, it's probably not how I would identify, but it's something I believe in and something I practice. But so my partner identifies as that more as like, this is who I am and this is my identity. And from that, I've kind of become like poly involved, poly
Polyadjacent, yeah.
poly supportive.
Right.
But I don't think I could go back to be monogamous now.
Oh yeah, once you
At
taste
all?
the fruit a little, you're like, oh, this is quite lovely. This is
Yeah, even just in concept, if you're not even practicing, practicing whatever that means. But yeah, just the more you read about it and the more you realize if it's done right and with good intentions, it's hard to go back to the construct of monogamy after this. I don't think if someone was like, if we broke up and someone else was like, we have to be monogamous, I would now, even though that's not how I originally identified, I think I would have a really, really hard time with it, which I think is common for a lot of people who have been poly for a while.
the only people I've known who were able to switch back or even temporarily do monogamy were people like they had to. This person had to have like fucking changed their entire like out view on life for them to even consider switching back. Like I've talked to people who like switch from non-monogamy to monogamy. And I was like, well, what happened? Like, are you okay?
And it's whenever I talk to people who are like choosing to be monogamous, and I think the poly's not for everyone. So I'm not one of those people who are like, poly's right, monogamy's wrong. It's like, whatever floats your boat. I don't give a shit. But I do find that they're like, it's so much work. It's so much work to be poly. I don't know how you do it. But I'm like, well, yeah, but after the work is done, it's so much freedom and joy and blah, blah, blah. And now I'm thinking monogamy would be so much work, so much more work than even poly would be now, which is crazy for me to think that. Because when we first started, I was like, what? This is crazy. This is so much work.
There's homework. There's reading assignments.
It's a lot of
I gotta
admin.
listen to podcasts now.
Yes. I'm like reading all these books. I'm like highlighting things about like people pleasing and codependence and direct
gosh.
communication. It's
My
a lot
ex
of admin.
My ex would do that. She put I borrowed her. She left her more than 2 copy with me for a while. And I would like sometimes thumb through it. And there's so much highlighting and side notes. And sometimes there'd be a thing about me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's the thing I got to think about.
Like a subtle way of being like the Billy chapter or whatever. Like the
Yeah, it was just a huge post-it note that said, Billy, fucking read this.
learn from this book. The books are helpful though.
They're good. What were some of the ones you jumped to when you first...
I mean, Ethical Slut, More Than Two. I'm going to lose my title. I'm trying to even...
Those are the 2 big ones?
Those are the
I
2
haven't
big
even read
ones.
more than 2. I just thumbed through.
And Curious Foxes too. Just we mentioned Effie earlier
Effie Blue.
and kind of, but that was the first time I was in a community of poly people who identified as poly, which for me, even doing it as my show is really helpful because you forget there's a community unless you're in the community. And I wasn't really socially. My partner was more. So that was really helpful just to like be around other people.
Is your partner tapped into the local, like that the Effie Blue scene
she
that
was
were the
before me.
Hacienda crew? Or?
Yeah, she was slightly before me, and then we started going to like some panels together. And I think just going to panels and like seeing different couples and socializing was really helpful for me because I can tend to be more introverted. I'm in a bubble. Most of my friends at that time were monogamous or comedians, or I knew like some people were open, but I wasn't like close or socializing with a lot of people who were poly. So I really had no one to talk to about our relationship but my partner.
Like,
which
are you
is
like, I can't talk
toxic.
to the monogamous people because they're monogamous. I can't talk to comedians because like no one wants to talk to each other.
Because,
It's like there's a bunch of shy people at the creek in the cave being like, hi, how you doing? I'm just going to eat popcorn in the corner. Don't talk to me.
Yeah. No, I mean, comics are lovely. My common comedian friends I've known for years, and we have like relationships outside of being comedians. But yeah, we talk about being artists and comedy and stuff. And I think anyone who doesn't know a lot about polyamory can tend to come at it with you need to be saved or judgment without even intending to. So
Did you have that attitude when, I'm assuming your partner pitched this whole relationship model to you, right? Or was this a mutual,
No,
just like,
she didn't even know what she was pitching. I think we both kind of jumped into like the sea together.
Okay, that's great.
And she swam very fluidly, and I like needed like floaties and like someone to like get me on a sailboat and take me to Poly Island. And she was
Poly
just
Island.
like diving through.
Poly Island? It's wonderful.
Poly Island.
It's
It's
a great
new
resort.
reality show.
Poly Island.
Poly
Oh no.
Island. end.
Don't worry. The networks will figure out a way to stigmatize it even still.
Yeah. Oh God, that show will be terrible.
There still isn't that like poly show that like normalizes it or makes it
I heard
relatable.
Spike Lee is redoing one of his movies. I forget the name of the movie.
She's Gotta Have It.
Yeah. Is that poly or is that?
I hear she's some sort of non-monogamous.
Okay. And
But
there's been some good web series, right?
Well, Unicorn Land was great. I haven't finished it. I watched the first episode and went, holy fuck, this is good.
Yeah.
And I
haven't seen it, but I've heard good things. So
I don't know if you have the same attitude about web series or just like projects that I do. Being like a comic, you get, I don't know. I ignore all Facebook invites now. I stopped years ago because everything is someone's inviting me to their open mic or their like bar show in Oakland.
Right.
Because every comedian will just figure out the hack so they can just invite all their Facebook friends, right?
Oh,
so
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
even look at those. And then everyone we know has a blog or a podcast or a web series, and like, you can't support all of it. There's too much.
there is, yeah.
So-
You can be selective though, or if something's got press or something, or a friend of a friend. But there's not that many poly web series, right? No.
And so, but when I first heard about Unicorn Land from, I think her name's Lucy Gillespie.
Yes.
I was like, okay, this is another web series that like I don't have time for.
Yeah.
And at first someone said that they were like digestible. They're like 6 to 8 minutes each. And there's like 6 episodes. You could do the whole thing like in an hour or half hour or something. It's like crazy accessible. So I watched the first one and I'm like, holy fuck, why did I ignore this for so long? This is hilarious. The first episode is just like this, this chick trying to get with a couple for a threesome where like a threesome that clearly they don't want.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it's just so incredibly awkward and hilarious that now I have to like recommend. It's a great poly series. I think that's the only positive one though that I've seen.
Yeah, I can't say for sure that I haven't done my research about this, so perhaps that's the we're not going to Unicorn Man is the only good poly media out there for web series. I've heard it's really good though. I think it's hard. Yeah, I think it's a hard thing not to portray in a narrative, but to sell, to get investors and to get. It's just so specific, though it shouldn't be, and I think it's. The sex issue or the kink or being sex positive is hard to understand unless it's your wheelhouse. And then
it turns people off.
And it's interesting. And my specific experience with poly is that's not my world either, but I find that I want to learn about that and know about that. And I consider myself sex positive, even if I'm not as active, even if I'm more like introverted and a little more demi. I still find that very interesting, but I don't think I'm in the majority. Even watching, like, we just saw Professor Martin and the Wonder Woman.
How is that? I'm seeing it on Friday.
So good. It's so good.
Yeah.
But I'm also coming at it from a perspective of 5 years of being poly and being sex positive, and I've read books on BDSM, and so I came at it from that and thought it was amazing. But I'd be curious what someone who has no knowledge of poly would think of that movie, because it might be a lot.
Yeah.
But it's really well done. And it's like, yeah, I think some people might be like, oh, it's not enough. It's not as, like, it doesn't go as far as we wanted it to. And it's fictionalized.
Yeah.
Very fictionalized, but it's done really well. And everyone's really beautiful. Not that matters, but
but it matters.
It does help in like a kinky Wonder Woman me movie that they're all just like, holy crap, these people are just, whatever beauty means in Hollywood, these actors were cast really well for a kinky Wonder Woman movie. My partner and I were like, this is a good date movie.
Yeah.
It's a hot movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's done really well. And it's really the way they juxtapose that lie detector with it. It's good, especially if you're a Wonder Woman fan and you're cool with feminism, then I think you'll be down to see this movie.
The bigots are not going to like that movie very much. They're like, why do these women have so much influence in this?
Yeah,
where are all the dudes
if you're
talking
a
about
cis
fantasy
male,
football?
If you're a cis male who hates women, don't see Professor Marsden and the Wonder Woman. You'll hate it.
Just go see Fast Furious 12 again. It's okay.
Go see Soul Mills.
I just watched last week was really good. That documentary Monogamish, and we had the director on last week, Tal Ruspoli.
Oh,
but
nice.
that was also fantastic. And again, like it sounds like you're saying Professor Marston was accessible to like your average person.
I think it was,
Yeah.
but I'm coming at it from someone who doesn't need to be accessed that way. So I'd be curious, like I'd want to take my like sister to see it. I mean, I wouldn't, but like,
Yeah.
but somebody like that and be like, what did you think? And hear that because I only saw it with my partner and we were both like, this is great. But I think it is. I think it's accessible.
Why wouldn't you take your sister? Are you out to your sister about the things, the
Oh,
stuff?
I'm not out to my family about it, but we probably, yeah, it's a pretty sexual movie. I don't know if I'd see it with a family member unless we talked about sex a lot or we were comfortable that way. It's just, yeah, there's a lot of, yeah. For my lovely Jewish upbringing, I don't think I'd go see that movie with my family members. No.
Well, how was the coming out process? I mean, did you do multiple comings outs, or just was it all your terms, all your adjectives to just throw out in like one dinner?
Oh, for coming out, I think I just talk about my self on stage so much anyway that I kind of came out through performing to most people and through social media and promoting stuff. And then my family, when we started dating, it was pretty much clear how I identified. And then my personal...
Did they not know you were into women until then, that moment?
Well, I was monogamous with my boyfriend for like over 7 years, all of my 20s. So
I was going to ask, do you mind if I ask how old you are? I'm just trying to get context.
Oh, yeah. So I'm 37.
You're 37?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Was that?
You look incredibly younger.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean,
No, but I always say, because it's just a context thing for me. Because if you say a 7-year relationship and a 5-year relationship, I'm like, what is she like? What was she, 16 when she started? Okay,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So, so we were together for most of my 20s, monogamous. Most of my other relationships were monogamous
And they were
with men. And that, not that that was my wheelhouse, but I mean, going back to like kink and like just sub and dom and like social situations, mostly people were picking me up.
Yeah.
And in most spaces, regardless of queer or straight, it was mostly men just due to just social constructs.
That happens, yeah.
Yep. Men are just more likely to hit on people or people with like stereotypical masculine energy, even in like queer femme identified community, androgynous women or more masculine identified are more likely to be the ones to make the move. So in my experience, I never like focused on making a move or had to. So it was fascinating to me, and I was monogamous. So I didn't really feel the need to come out necessarily.
Yeah.
I mean, I talked about it, but I wasn't like open about it necessarily. I'm pretty private, actually.
Yeah?
Unless I'm like experiencing something or I have a story
She says
to
that she
tell.
does a podcast to talk about her sex and dating life.
I mean, well, yeah, but this is my what I'm talking about now, like what I'm choosing to talk about for writing and comedy, and it's my art basically. Sure. But if I'm not making it my art, then I can like, support what I want to support, give money where I want to give money, and like be an advocate in community. But I wouldn't necessarily be vocal unless I'm making art for it necessarily, probably. And I wasn't talking about sex and relationships back then too much. But yeah, so my family, I feel like they probably knew but didn't know. Even when I was like, oh, I'm dating a woman now, I think nobody was surprised. My sister was like, yeah. My dad was like, you've always marched to the beat of your own drummer. I think he said something like that, like a very like Jewish dad, like you've always done what you wanted to do.
So long as she's a lawyer, like whatever.
She's not a lawyer, but I mean, from your mouth to God's ears. The next one, I'm looking for a very professional partner now.
Well, so now you're dating, right? You're dating as.
I'm putting it into my like bandwidth, and I'm trying to create energy and space for it.
And what's that about?
I think just we make the joke when you're with a partnership, you're either both dating, or if one person's not dating, the other person's dating something, whether it's having a relationship with herself or having a relationship with their art. And I think I was like dating myself in comedy. Like I just didn't have time for anything other than like, I have a partnership, I have stand up, I have a one-woman show, I have this book, it was just like, and friendships to maintain and all the other lovely things in life. I just didn't have the bandwidth to like, A, meet someone, or B, bring anyone in like that. And I think I just wanted to make that, I wanted to make space for it in my life over the past year. So I've just been trying to like figure out a way to do that.
Right.
Because I can, and also because why not? But yeah, I think as artists, we tend to create unhealthy relationships with our art sometimes. And it's important to be like, okay, that's a good relationship. Now let's like separate from that and like,
What's that look
people.
like for you? Because I think that's something a lot of people would struggle with, whether they're monogamous going into poly, or even if they're poly and they feel a little polysaturated. It's like, how do you make space in your mind for that?
I used to not know how to do that. I used to just let everything overwhelm me and then panic and then not do anything. And now I'm very task oriented. Like I'll make a schedule for the things I need to get done that week. And one of those things might be join Tinder or go to a networking event and like get some business cards and follow up with people you think are cute. Like literally making it.
Is that the
a
thing
task.
that women tell us not to do, is don't go to a networking event and then hit on the people you got business cards from?
I mean a networking event that's more like social, like not like, yeah.
I was like, I thought I was doing the right thing, but am I allowed now? Cool. No.
I think you can do anything, not anything, but I think you can always communicate with people in a way with you're interested if you have a good intention and if you're coming from a good place and your energy is good. I think if you identify as cis male, you can do it. You can tell someone they're attractive. You can take them out for dinner. You can get their business card at a networking event. If your intentions are good and you respect them, definitely. Just don't be an asshole. Sure. Just don't be an asshole.
Well, so are you on? So you're joining apps and you're.
I'm starting to,
putting in there.
Slow grind. Slow grind.
Where are we starting with the slow grind?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna like. My goal was to be on. This is like not the saddest thing, but this is my personality. I'm like on my calendar. I'm like, join Tinder by November 1st. Like,
oh, that's so cute.
So sad. That's how introverts date. Like that's how comedians are like. By November 1st, you will pick your filtered picture and put it on Tinder. By November 7th, maybe Bumble.
You will write a bio by this date, but a week before I need a draft. Then a second draft is due 3 days before.
Yeah, I'm a freelance writer. I'm like already like, all right, like I got to revise the bio. Like, what's my first line? Like,
got to research what's a good bio, what are good pictures. There's so many articles.
Oh my gosh, I don't do this shit casually. Like,
and by the time of it, you're like, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I even want to anymore. Fuck it.
No, this is just exactly.
Where's my cat?
Exactly. I'm like, should we just get a fish? Like the most low maintenance thing I could possibly get. And I was like, can we just get like a little fishy? So yeah, we'll see. It's a work in progress. But I talk about it in the show a little bit about me trying to date unsuccessfully. But, I feel like if I don't have, comedians are stereotypically not introverts, but I think a lot of us have anxiety and a lot of us have a lot of thoughts about the world and interact with people in a very specific way. And I'm most comfortable when in a controlled environment. And I'm not a control freak, but I'm a little bit of a control freak. So I like having a microphone. I like interacting with people when I'm controlling the environment, literally like stand up or it's my show. So I'm going to talk and
rules.
Yeah, these are my rules. And if we want to have a conversation, fine. But I have, 5 minutes for crowd work and then going back to my narrative. Mm-hmm. So dating for me has always been like, oh, what a shit show of like uncontrolled elements. But I'm working on it.
Working on it.
Yeah.
Support for the Man Whore podcast comes from the Motor Bunny. Oh, what an amazing toy. Look, it is no secret that I'm a fan of the Motor Bunny. It is a wonderful, affordable, ride-on-top vibrator. And now it comes with Bluetooth connectivity. Yeah, so that means that you can have a partner control your vibrations, can control the twirl, can control your orgasms from across the room, and soon from across the country. It's just one of many innovative new updates that the Motor Bunny continues to roll out to improve your sex toy experience. And not only is the Motor Bunny affordable, and not only are they offering Man Whore Podcast listeners a $50 discount, you can also finance the toy. Yeah. Personally, myself, I have to make sure I make a monthly payment on my iPhone 7. I make a monthly payment on my MacBook Pro. This is becoming an Apple product ad read very quickly. But I make monthly payments on my phone, on my laptop, and would it just be hilarious to also be making monthly payments on a fantastic sex toy? Those would be the funniest past due notices you ever get in the mail. I dare a repo man to take my Motor Bunny away from me or my partner out of her, well, I don't want to say cold dead pussy, that doesn't sound good, but out of her warm wet twat. I dare you to pull that away from her. So I highly encourage, check out the Motor Bunny. It is a fantastic toy, and you can enjoy a $50 discount when you use the promo code MANWHORE at motorbunny.com. Again, that's promo code MANWHORE at motorbunny.com. They say that the best way to get over a woman is to get under a new one. I think they say that to women about guys, but you know what? I prefer a woman who's on top. And, in the midst of my breakup, as I'm starting to become a sexual being again, I'm trying to get back underneath someone. And how do I do that? I like to use the Pure Hookup app. The Pure Hookup app is a casual sex app that lets you find hot sex tonight. Pure is not like one of those other online dating apps where you're swiping through people and then you have to endlessly chat with them to maybe make plans. And even then, you don't know if they're trying to fuck. You don't know if they want to marry you. Everyone on Pure is there for the same reason. They're trying to get laid tonight. Download the Pure Hookup app on Google Play or the App Store. Pure. The Hookup app that says it's a hookup app. Now let's get back to the show. I think we're at the dating apps.
Oh God, yeah.
When you finally, is this going to be your first time like dating outside of this relationship? Dating polyamorously outside of this relationship?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, there's an app out now called the Polylife app, which apparently
is this the ad for your podcast?
No, not at all. I was just like, okay, like I don't know her. Like, let's look up
the Polylife app. What's that like?
No. Everyone knows that I am sponsored by the Pure Hookup app.
Okay.
But apparently, like this is an app to like do the admin for your relationship. So like schedules, notes. I guess you can keep notes like which kink is for which partner. You don't want to confuse that. That could go real wrong.
Oh, so it's like it's like the Google Calendar extraordinaire.
It's supposed to be, like an organizing app for all your partners and relationships.
Wow.
And like maybe should this go successfully for you, you may be in need of one of these types of things.
Maybe. Yeah. That's so interesting. I feel like I could just use it for every other thing in my life, even if I'm not having partners. Just like put in partners as another task and just have it organized for me in general. That's so it literally, you put in your partners and all the preferences, and then everyone puts in their schedules and everyone has access to the app. I don't
have it myself, but it appears to be something like that.
And
where you're all sharing the Polylife app. Yeah.
Interesting. I thought it was a poly dating app.
No.
When you first said it, and I was like, that's interesting.
Well, that one's Field, right? I think.
Yeah.
Tinder turned into Field. I didn't realize Field turned into like a poly dating app. I thought it was still a threesome hookup app, so I never joined it. But I have a lot of poly friends who were saying that they're singles meeting other like singles or couples or whatever, or meeting like matching with couples, but they go on dates with one of them.
Okay. Yeah, I've not. I know I've heard of Field, but I'm not on. Yeah, because to my knowledge, Tinder was like, it's just a big free for all. You just put what you are in your little description, and you meet who you meet. It's not necessarily categorized per like IID is poly or IID is this. But except some people, maybe queer, like who you want to meet,
or the girls holding girls' hand emoji.
Oh, is that?
That's one too. That's a good if you can tell like the bi or queer girls because they'll have both the girl holding boy hands and the girl holding girl hands and a rainbow, and I'm like, okay, I know what you're trying to say.
Oh, that's so funny. It's all emojis now. I feel really old. We already mentioned my age earlier, so I was around during the Friendster years.
Oh gosh,
I know I look fabulous. See that already. I was on OkCupid for like a hot second, and.
What
it was
a dumpster fire.
It was a big shit show for me. It was just too much info to have to like quizzes. And I was like, I don't want to do another multiple choice. I don't care what you did for your multiple choice. And then I just was matched up with, and I went on like 6 dates, but it was so much admin. I just want to like
lots of reading.
I don't want to message with someone for like 20 years. Just like if we meet, we meet. If we don't, I can't. I don't have time to I don't have time to text message with you unless we're like going to become friends or something. It just seems like a big waste of time.
Ideally, like get off the app in like 3 to 5 messages if you can. Be like, hey, I saw you. We have this online dating consultant, Steve Dean. I recorded with him yesterday. He'll be out later, but he's in the whole Poly Open Love NY circle, and he goes like, if I see she's into a certain like band and I see that they have a concert coming up, I'll be like, hey, they have this concert coming up. I'm planning on going to it. Would you like to go? First message, just like, let's get the fuck off of the internet.
Yeah.
But what if what if I don't have chemistry with him? Okay, cool. Then you lost an hour or two.
It's hard, I think, and I haven't been honest straight. I would assume for a lot of women identified who are also hetero, it's hard to want to meet men they don't think they know really well. Mm-hmm. At night or in environments that they're not sure is public or safe. But I feel like if you're a male identified trying to hook up with a female, then if you want to meet them right away, then it's like coffee during the day is like the easiest thing. Even though it's not sexy, I feel like a lot of women want to chat longer just to feel safe and to have time to like match your LinkedIn with your Facebook and like to kind of cross-identify you in 18 different ways. That's kind of what we do to feel safe. I don't know. I mean, like, she's nodding. Izzy's nodding like, uh-huh. Yep. Yeah, you have your friend who's good with like IP hacking or whatever. Be like, all right, here's like reverse upload his photo into Google Images and make sure this matches this. And is where he's from, is that where he says he's from? And I have to get like 10 facts to line up if I'm going to meet probably a male at night anywhere.
It's one of the few bonuses of being verified on Twitter is I just go like, oh, I can just send them this. I'll be like, see, I swear it's me. And that's
because you've got the little check.
Yeah, I was like, Twitter says I'm me. So is that enough?
It's not enough, Billy.
I feel like I get more of a benefit from that in dating than like having the blue check mark anywhere else on Twitter. I was like, I just like having it as a identity verification service.
That's how Twitter doesn't realize they're getting men laid.
Oh, stop it. Well, I don't know, because I identify with some of the just getting back in there because I'm like about a month off of a breakup.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, and my profiles all used to say, in an open relationship. Mm-hmm. Then it said the whole like, hey, I have a sex podcast. That's more of a disclaimer, if anything. But it would always say like, I'm in an open relationship. And so they would know off the bat. Mm-hmm. And now I got to be like a single straight guy who's poly and then trying to communicate. So
that's a lot. That's hard, actually.
Yeah. So like, when I'm swiping, I'm just looking for anyone like girls with like colored hair or a cute haircut. It's not even that I'm into the shaved side haircut.
You're like
I'm just
stereotyping for liberals.
A little bit. It just makes like it's not that I'm attracted to the half buzzed haircut, but I know that the half buzzed haircut statistically is more likely to be open minded to like the type of dating models I'm into.
I get it. You're like, oh, okay, like she's in a blazer and she works for JP Morgan or Chase or whatever. But then you don't really know, right? But I think if you put all the words in,
yeah.
And they read the words.
But so many don't read the words. Even the women don't read sometimes. I'll have a lot of people. It's hilarious. When I had the open relationship, when I had the girlfriend, it was hilarious watching. I would get a bunch of matches and I would go look and see them and it would be Bumble, so I can't say hi. I would see so many of them instantly unmatched. And I think it's because, they found out I had a girlfriend.
Oh, and they didn't even.
Yeah. I think they realized, I liked his eyes at minimum. And then, girlfriend, bye.
People are very, what I found, and my partner dates and she's on the apps and she's very in the mindset of what you do or don't do, or what you do and don't read is not my problem.
Yeah.
So if you come with a perception and you didn't ask a question, then it's not my fault, because she puts just we're open, but she doesn't put she's engaged, because that's not information that necessarily she thinks is anyone's business until they ask.
And honestly, does it really change? It shouldn't change too much,
right?
At that point,
But when people find that out, they're like pissy. Some of them are like, "You should have told me that you." I mean, I'm totally giving a terrible stereotypical voice.
Let's give that voice, because
All right,
I pictured it too.
You should have told me you're engaged, and you're like, she's gotten some like very judgmental texts back from people after they find out.
Men, women, or everyone, or
I don't think it matters, but like I think mostly women identified or queer women.
I would find it interesting, because I think if it comes from like male identified dudes, then you're dealing with a lot of like male entitlement. Whereas I'm curious, the motivation or whatever coming from
I think women can be just
identified.
as possessive and just as entitled, but probably stereotypically aren't portrayed that way. But I think in general, men probably are taught that they can be more possessive publicly, but I think women are probably just as much, but maybe they don't show it as much because they're not taught they can.
Yeah.
So that being said, they have mostly been women. And it's not like I'm not talking like hundreds and hundreds, just like small examples.
Sure.
But on the subject of, well, I said I was open and you didn't ask. So unless we're going to like start a relationship, I don't think it's anyone's business. I've been grappling with, I mean, I don't do casual sex. It's not my wheelhouse. And so I'm probably not going to be going into one night stands or being intimate with people I don't know well or who don't know me well. That's not something I'm into. But I have thought about, well, if I meet somebody and we hit it off and I want to be physical with them or intimate, do they need to know I'm engaged and live with my partner outside of being poly? And I'm like, yes, I should tell them everything. And other people are like, not really. As long as they know that it's consensual and they know you're poly, is anything else their business? And I grapple with that a lot because I'm an oversharer and I want people to know everything because I would want to know everything. Yeah. So it's as I'm starting to date, it's interesting. I'm like, I don't know.
Would you? Now, would you be frustrated if you were?
If I went back to someone's house, I kind of might want to know they live with a partner. Mm-hmm. I would kind of feel weird if I spent the night with someone, or I got back to someone's house and then I was in their room and it was a shared space and I didn't know it. Do I have the right to know that if I just know that they're open and I'm choosing to go back for a one night stand or whatever that means? I hate that term, but for a lovely consensual experience.
Can we rebrand those as that?
Hi. Oh my God. Can you imagine me at a bar? Like, I would love to have a lovely, safe, consensual experience with you for one night.
That sounds, I'd be like, and how that just sounds like a very, very liberal sex worker pitch at the bar.
It's not that sexy.
Yeah, right?
It's way too long. I'm wearing a blazer. I have like a clipboard and I'm like, these are the body parts you'll be touching until 4 a.m.
Yes. And also here's your photo release and here is your waiver, your health waiver.
And my partner, Antonia, is just like standing next to me like, approved.
Oh, right. She's Israeli, right? No.
She's Croatian.
Croatian, sorry.
Yeah.
I grabbed the wrong country.
It was my accent that threw you, probably.
Because I watched one of your clips online and it was one where you're doing her accent.
Oh yeah, I heard. I think I say the accent is like a terrible Eastern European Israeli spy or something like that. So yeah.
I don't think you have to share any of that stuff. I don't even think you have to share that you're in an open relationship. I think strategically it's a good idea, but I think you don't have to share anything you don't want to. But I also I don't think it's bad if you want to share.
But
you
I've talked to people and women that have said, once I say I'm poly or once I say I'm in a relationship, they're kind of like, well, I'm not into that and I don't feel comfortable with that and I don't want to date you because of that. So I'm thinking, well, thank you for saying that. But then what if I didn't tell them and then something happened? Did I like trick them into?
I don't think you're tricking anybody, because I think part of this is we need to get people to realize that like not all relationships are these closed monogamous or heterosexual or whatever relationships. Like we got to start showing people why it's silly to make assumptions. Yeah. So it's like, stop assuming, just like ask questions. Yeah. Like it's their job to ask.
I agree with you. You're totally right. I feel like in practice it can get really muddy and people can get really upset.
And in order to change those minds, we have to put them in those positions to get upset to maybe hopefully change some boundary, like strategically, like logistically zoomed in one-on-one, like in your scenarios, in my scenarios, it's not going to be awesome. It's not going to be the wisest move, but like zoomed out as like a movement in very loose quotation marks, you know, the movement for like poly people to date openly on Tinder.
Just fuck monogamous people and don't tell them the movement. No, don't. No, don't.
But I think it's good to just show people when it's silly to assume. Like, if I were bisexual, like for a woman to like, if I I would, you know, offhandedly throw in an experience with a guy in a conversation just to see if she winces and she's like, did you assume I'm straight? You didn't ask, like stuff like that.
I think I agree with you on throwing it in. I don't think I can throw it in with the sex with the. There's something with my personality where I want info consent. I would need it for myself, and I think because I would want it, I need to give it to somebody else.
Which information would you want?
I would want to know if somebody is in another partnership.
Sure.
Or that the ID is poly or open.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, because I think in general, people are going to be having sex with multiple people if they're single anyway. So safety-wise, it's like, yeah, you meet someone at a bar, and if they're single, they're probably going to be having more partners than the person maybe who's in the open relationship. So that's not a big deal. But I would want to know if there's another partnership, because it would affect the amount, how I'd want to get involved, and time and bandwidth, and if there's other people being involved,
right? And to get to the date, it's like, I would imagine, like in the course of a good date where you are talking a lot. In my case, like a good day is like we're talking for 3 hours and we didn't realize it, right?
Yeah,
it's gonna come up. Like, it's hard to talk for that long and not come up. But like when it comes to like a bio or something like that, where someone's just trying to like basically literally profile you off of a profile, I go like, don't make assumptions. Like, ask questions you need to know.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, and I'm assuming most of my dating will be like that, where I'll be talking to someone for a lengthy amount of times before anything happens.
Those are the best dates anyway.
But people do pick up people at bars and get drunk and or like, you know, get a buzz and want to go home with them and have wonderful like consensual
encounters
for one night. So when that happens, do you before you get in that Uber, or taxi, or Lyft, or whatever, or Subway, but like let's just say it's 3 a.m. Those were all my ads for your podcast. Uber, taxi, Lyft, you know, whatever.
Use the promo code MANWHORE, which doesn't exist for any of those.
Before you get on that double-seated bicycle.
Don't joke. We're in Brooklyn. You know that's going to be a service soon.
I cannot wait till some, like, what is it called when the guy or the girl pushes?
Pedicab?
Yeah, the human pedicabs you.
Yeah.
Like, I would love it. He's like, I got my pedicab. And I'm like, cool. And I just, like, get in the like...
peasant mobile?
Yeah, I get in my little buggy, and he takes me to Bushwick. What was I saying? Oh, before you get into the vehicle or the mode of transportation, I would want to know where I was going and who's going to be there and what to expect. Mm-hmm. But that's not something I do often as a cis female, and just because I've lived in the city for 15 years and I'm pretty good about that. I just don't feel comfortable going to someone's place I don't know really well at night. But people do it, and people meet great people, and it's all wonderful. But what info do you reveal then? I think if I was going to take someone home with me and we got into that car, before that I'd be like, by the way, I'm engaged and I live with my fiance and we share a space.
And we have a fish.
And we have a fish, Chloe, that like
I hope you're not allergic.
I'm also in a relationship with. Yeah. And I have plants. I would want to tell them, because I wouldn't want them coming into my space for an encounter and seeing a shared space and not expecting it, because that would kind of throw me a little bit. But I don't know why. But since I know that about myself, I want to give someone else that info. So yeah, but on a dating app, I don't know what I'm going to say. I haven't worked out my bio yet. I think I might say I currently live with my partner and we're non-monogamous, but I don't think I'm going to say we're engaged, but I don't know yet.
Always leave a surprise. Always leave something to...
I mean, anyone could Google me, or it's not like they could literally see a video clips of my show at some point and know like our whole story. So it's not like, ooh, like mysterious. Yeah.
Time for the fan whore appreciation moment. What is up? This is the part of the podcast where I like to thank some of the members of my fan whore community on Patreon. Billy, what's Patreon? Oh, that's a fantastical question. Patreon's kind of like a monthly fan club membership mixed with Kickstarter-like levels. So you choose how much money you want to pledge to me every month. And depending on how much money you pledge, you get various types of rewards, which include all sorts of bonus episodes of the Man Whore podcast. And a shout out on the show, which is happening right now. Thank you to Miranda B, who won a Clone-A-Willy from me earlier this year. I would love to see the finished product if you still have it. Thank you for supporting the show. Victoria D, aloha, lady. I'm so glad that you started listening to the podcast after you heard the Nina Hartley episode. I hope you also enjoyed the Nina Hartley bonus content I put out there. And Angie V, you have been such a wonderful active member of The Peep Show, our super exclusive Patreon only kick group where everyone's like sharing all sorts of naughty photos. Let's just say she's got nice nipples. Thank you, Angie V, for your support. And you too can become a member of our community for as little as $1. Is a fantastic way to support me and the Man Whore podcast. Just head on over to patreon.com/Man Whore podcast. That's Patreon, patreon.com/Man Whore podcast. But now let's wrap up with Mindy Raff. Don't you like that about being someone like in the public eye and that like, that people can look you up and just find the shit that like you need to get out on a date. Like they can find the bad things and you can just assume that they're informed. Like I have like the podcast. I'd be like, I am sure someone like went and listened to a thing. So they either like heard me cry about one, they heard me cry about somebody or they heard about the sex parties. So like they might have an idea of what they're getting involved with. Yeah.
Do you find it's pressure to then convince people that there's more to you than the brand that you're putting out?
The brand.
Well, because it is a brand. It's like we have podcasts and we have shows and we have social media, but it's really not us. It's like a confluence of all these different things we're creating, but the person is always different and more nuanced, and we maybe aren't as extroverted in a non-controlled environment. So I sometimes feel pressure to be like, that's me, but it's not like the me you might be getting on this coffee date.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like also you look up my name, you find either you find an old guy in a suit, which is my father, or you find, because we have the same name, or you find this man whore thing. And like, although man whore, I'm not a fan of one night stands. So like, I am not the guy just trying to like pick you up at a bar and fuck you and never call you again. I don't was lovely consensual encounters. Like I'm not the
That's
big.
the title of my new podcast.
Yes, I love it. It's fantastic.
Lovely consensual encounters.
That's a great podcast name.
It's like Delilah in the morning.
Please use that somewhere.
Okay.
But it's weird because like I feel like I have to almost explain, because if they find just man whore and they don't hear me talk about something. Like if they stumble upon an episode and they try to listen to one, it happens to be one about like, oh, I just went to this great sex party, we did that, and now here's a guest. They might be like, oh my God, this might be about some crazy sex freak. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't think I'm that guy, because I don't even fuck a lot of orgies. Like I go because it's a fun party and that's where my friends are.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like I feel like I have to explain or clarify a lot,
because you're putting yourself out there in a specific way, and people, especially with sex and with anything personal, people come at it with their own judgment and their own experiences, and they try to get to the simplest way and the simplest thing to understand someone, to figure out if you're going to match or if you have good polarities.
Or like what they're going to be like on the day, what their intentions might be. I know what my face looks like.
Right. People are always like to me like, oh, you're not less funny than I thought you would be. But I've had many people be like, oh, you're not even just date stuff, but just people who've met me outside of shows have been like, you're very serious. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty serious. Like I'm funny, but like
I swear to God, I would never accuse you of being serious. You were only funny so far for this last hour.
Oh, keep talking. But yeah, it's like, we're not always. I feel like comedians, we're not always on, and if we are, like, oh my gosh, like we shouldn't be necessarily. So it's interesting to me, if I want to hang out with someone, and especially like if we're going to be having like sex or being intimate, I'm probably going to want to like, maybe talk about death for an hour before we fuck. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm gonna want to just like be really like chill and low energy and like not be on. And I think it's hard when you're on social media all the time or you're doing shows. I can't be like BT dubs. Like, by the way, like I might not be funny.
Yeah.
Or I might not look like a Valencia filtered picture. That's
Why
my
is
filter.
Why is it always? It's always what, Valencia and Clarendon or whatever that is.
I like to do a double Mayfair, save it,
wow.
and then do a light Valencia wash,
Wait,
then
you can
add a
do-
little saturation to the cheeks.
Wait, you can save and then add.
Izzy's nodding.
You can add
Izzy's nodding.
Sorry, I'm new to Instagram. Can you add a filter on the filtered image?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
not that I do it, but I do. You can save a filtered image but not post it.
And then bring it back up and then
bring
refilter.
it back up and refilter.
This has now turned into a social media marketing strategy podcast. Hi,
I
everyone.
mean, I freelance. I do this for clients. If you need me to do your social media, you just reach out to me. I can make you look good and sound good.
So you brought up like you're not into one night stands, that you're not necessarily the like I'm trying to go out and get laid person. Am I picking that up correctly?
Yes, you are picking that up correctly.
And I think a lot of people have this misconception about polyamorous people, non-monogamous people. And I even had that for a long time. I still have hints of it.
I do too, yeah.
Where you just assume like, oh, this person's like out and they like dating and love stuff, but I might be able to like have sex with them a couple times or have a casual sexual relationship with them. And that's not true of all poly people, right?
Yeah, I think when you think poly, most people who don't know about it think it means multiple sex partners only, or it's just kink, or it's just threesomes. And for me, the best thing about being poly was being able to be emotionally intimate with multiple people. That to me, I found so rewarding. And not that I'm necessarily have another partner, but to not feel guilty for having emotional intimacy with multiple people has been a wonderful breakthrough for me just in general, because that's how I connect to people. And I think there's a lot of guilt that we feel when we're also attracted to somebody and we're emotionally intimate. Then it's like you're cheating, because emotional intimacy or emotional cheating does exist. But the fact that I could maybe have like even platonic relationships with people where we could flirt and be emotionally intimate, even if nothing happens, there's no guilt about it because it's consensual and because I ID as poly, I found to be really fun and a fun way for me to get to know people that I'm also attracted to, even if we're not going to like date or they're going to become an additional partner or a part of like a polycule or whatever that means. That to me was so fun because I've always felt as like a former people pleaser and a former like Jewish mother identified type person who's so worried about upsetting somebody or not giving someone all my time that, I can't be intimate with multiple people. So I think I'm intimate with multiple people a lot without guilt now, which I think is lovely, but I'm not sexual probably with multiple people at this point. So dating for me is about maybe throwing in more physical into that mix and being comfortable with that.
Do a few like side hugs.
Yeah.
Just
my partner actually makes fun of me because she's like, how's it going with this person? And I'm like, well, we touched elbows when we watched a movie. And she's like, you're so cute. But I'm like, but it was fine. Like that was enough. Like it's good. Because I'm very like, I'm super dummy, and which is just like, I really like to know someone really, really, really well before I get turned on by them, which is a really time consuming. And also hard to make that commitment with someone that you're not even sure you want to date. But that's for poly, for me, has been like that. And that's something I talk about a little bit in writing and stand-up because it's not portrayed in poly a lot that I've seen. I haven't seen a lot of visible, like, demi-anxious poly people.
Yeah. You see the sex parties, you see the thruples, you see the, like, 4 or 5 people kissing each other all at once in
or
like
I have like 3
suits.
girlfriends and we're all intimate and we're all in relationships.
And I have a neck beard. You see like, that's...
I would love a neck beard. I cannot grow anything. It's sad. I think of all the ways I could just like really manicure my facial hair if I could only grow some more, but no.
Yeah, but you don't see, I mean, have you had people assume like wrong in like almost... I don't want to say egregious, but have you ever been in a situation where people were like assuming like, oh, I'm gonna like hit on her because like, well, she's poly, so clearly she might be DTF.
I haven't personally, but I've had people when they find out I'm poly, I think assume I'm more sexually active than I am with multiple people, or assume things like typically you're greedy. Or I've had people even assume things that that when they find out I don't have multiple partners or I'm not active, that they think I'm being like manipulated or that that I don't have agency.
Like you're being tricked into agreeing for them to go off.
Yeah. It's so hard for a lot of people, I think, to accept that you can have agency in something even if you're not active all the time, stereotypically in the way that you think it is, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And I think I also having like femme energy overall, or being perceived as having femme energy, people assume that you're not consensually submissive or that you're unhappy with your energy.
Are you a submissive person?
I tend to be a people pleaser in general, but I'm not super submissive, but I think I'm pretty much of a switch when it comes to things like that. I think I'm able to chameleon when needed, and I have the ability to do that. I mean, not even just sexually, but socially as well. Like if I feel like someone is more comfortable with alpha energy or more direct energy, then I can kind of chill. But if someone needs to take charge, I will take care of it. Yeah.
Do it.
I can switch.
Get on your knees and scrub that floor because we have a show in 10 minutes, guys.
Yeah, I'm like, get the Google Calendar together. Here's what we're going for brunch, and we're going to this thing, and like that's it. Like if you can't make a plan, I will make one for us, motherfucker. But if someone's like, here's the plan, I'm like, sounds good. So yeah, I switch a lot. But when people look at you as femme, whatever that means, they assume you're unhappy sometimes, which just like isn't the case.
I mean, I assume, like, femme or not femme, I assume you women are unhappy all the time. I mean, you should be in this
because we get our periods.
I was going to say in this current political climate, sure, we can do that one. Like, why not?
We're not unhappy as individuals and how we ID, but we're definitely unhappy with the political climate. Yes, I would say that's true.
So what did you finally change? Now that we're towards the end, like, come on, give us the big reveal. What is the new name of the show?
Oh, dun, dun, dun. The new name of the show it was Mindy Raff, Keeping My Kidneys, and now it is Mindy Raff, Not the One, A Love Story.
Not the One. Ooh, and then they show up, and there's I like the twist that's you're setting them up for.
Thank you.
That's great.
It's better, right?
Yeah, I like that. Well, because now I know it's about love. Even if you don't say it's a love story, I know something to do depending on what the poster is. I get an idea.
You know, it's like rom-com spin-off-ish, or it's some kind of
Sure, yeah. Keeping My Kidneys, I'll be honest with you.
No clue.
I didn't look into...
Worst title ever.
Well, no, it's not the worst title ever. It's a great title. And I do agree, it's a great book title. I think that's good right?
Yeah.
But, in terms of comedy, and then, like, because, like, I think someone told me about you earlier this year, but it's like, Keeping My Kidneys, like, what? It took forever for someone to say it's about, like, her poly. And I was like, oh, okay. So, no, I love this. This is great. And where can people go if they want to see the show live? You said you're going to be touring it some more?
Yeah, I'm just literally, by the time this airs, I'll probably have dates, which I can maybe give you later.
Where can they?
But they can go to mindyraff.com to get info, and I'll be doing a run.
And that's Mindy Raff, MindyRAF.
RAF, like Royal Air Force. Yeah. And I'm doing a run in November before Thanksgiving and another run in early December. And then I'll be probably touring it in New York and doing some colleges, and then hopefully going back to UK over the summer.
Okay.
The plan.
Awesome. Yeah. And if people want to see your double filtered Instagram posts,
if you want to see my Valencia Mayfair double saturation.
Wait. You did 3 in 1?
I mean, sometimes I like.
Y'all are on different levels than me. I am Instagram 101 right now.
That's why you're surprised I was 37. You're like, in your Instagram, you're like at least 19. Mindy.
No, I did.
I'm just kidding. If you want to see my filters where I look 19, I joined Instagram so early and I didn't realize you could use your real name. So my Instagram is Mindela, like 3 M's, INDELA.
3 M's.
Terrible. So I tried to find my name and someone has it and I can't get it.
Someone was squatting. I used to be at Funny Billy Pro in college because I don't know. I thought pro was easier to spell than Presida. I was like, that makes sense, right?
Totally.
I could just say Funny Billy Pro and be like, oh, that seems dorky, but I can spell that.
That's
and
a
then
good one.
And then Mike Cannon made fun of me, and I hold him in high esteem. So he said some playfully mean name callings, and I was like, okay, I'll change it. But then someone was squatting on Billy Presida, so I'm the Billy Presida. Like when you see, I had to. Someone's just squatting on my name,
it's like someone squatting
and
on
they're not
my
even
name.
using it. They're not even using it.
Yeah.
0 posts, 0
It's
followers.
like an egg picture or something.
Yeah.
I think it might be me with an old Yahoo email. I think it's like Mindy from age 25 is squatting on my Instagram and didn't realize it.
We do the movie Memento, but it's just you trying to find like who has this handle, and then it turns out it was you the whole time.
Oh my God, it's like the time traveler's Instagram. When I did Instagram, I did it with my ex-boyfriend and I did an Instagram account on his iPhone, and this was like 2009 or 8. I mean, it had just started. Maybe 2009 or 10, whenever Instagram first came. We thought it was a filter app. We didn't know it was public.
Mm-hmm.
So he joined Instagram. He took all these pictures of me and our cat, and then he would upload them thinking it was a private album onto his phone.
Right.
And then we realized his Instagram account has been public with just 20 pictures of me and our cat for so long. Now they're down and it's all good, but we didn't even know what Instagram was, and then that's when I made my name. The whole point is it's Mindela.
Well, Mindy, you were fantastic to talk to. I genuinely feel bad I waited this long to have you on because you're great. You're fantastic.
Please. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
It was so good to talk with you as well.
Yeah, I don't know what your schedule's like. Do you have like 10 minutes? Maybe do a little bonus episode if you're.
Yeah. What time is it?
Got 150.
Yes, I have 10 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's. So we'll do a quick little bonus episode, and but for now, why don't you say goodbye to everybody?
Bye.
Did you enjoy Mindy? I know I did. If you want to hear more of me chatting with Mindy Raff, become a member of my fan whore community on Patreon to gain access to her bonus episode. Tomorrow, I'll be releasing an additional half hour that I recorded with Mindy, where we talk about gender identity and her poly and pansexual origins story. That episode will be available to all my $10 and up fan whores. Just head on over to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. And if you can't afford $10 to hear Mindy's episode and dozens of other bonus episodes, you can still access exclusive Patreon-only bonus content for as little as $1 a month. Seriously, every dollar counts, and every dollar helps improve my life and helps improve this podcast. No pledge is too small. I've said this a ton of times. If every single one of my listeners pledged $1 per month, I'd be set. I'd be making a full-time living with the Man Whore Podcast. I could afford to bring the Man Whore Podcast on tour and do so many awesome, cool things. So please go on over to patreon.com/manwhorepodcast. If you enjoyed my conversation with Mindy Raff, I want to hear about it. I want to know your opinions. The good, and as you heard in this week's intro, the bad. Hit us up on Twitter she's at Mindy Raff. I'm at the Billy Presida, as we covered her funny Instagram handle. I'm on Instagram too. I'm at the Billy Presida. Use the hashtag ManWhorePodcast to let us know what you thought about the show. You just might hear your tweet or your Instagram post on air. Send me your comments, your questions, your titty pictures, whatever you have on your mind or on your chest to manwhorepod@gmail.com. Finally, go like the Man Whore Podcast Facebook page. Tomorrow on Thursday, October 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we're doing another Fan Whore Facebook Live Hangout for the month of October, and I will be joined by my intern, Izzy. Should be really fun, so I hope I see y'all there. But if I don't, I'll see y'all next week. Oh, also, shout out to Corinne Fisher and Christina Hutchinson from the Guys We Fucked podcast. Their book, Fucked, Being Sexually Explorative and Self-Confident in a World That's Screwed. is out now. You can get it at your local bookstore, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, whatever. They are fantastic women. They've got this great book out, and you should all go buy it, read it. And I'm sure most of you already listen to Guys We Fucked, but if you don't, go check it out. You can find my episode on there. It's titled, Do the Kids Still 69? So go listen to Guys We Fucked, go buy their book, go 69, and stay slutty.